It's going to happen.
It's
this
gonna
week.
happen.
Are you ready?
This Friday.
Are you ready?
We're ready to open. I said to you, it's almost like when you're renovating your apartment and you've got 2 weeks to go and you're not quite sure how it's ever going to get done. It's amazing what can be accomplished in the last 7 days. So that's where we are right now, but we're going to make it. It might be a photo finish, but Friday we open to the public. We'll be opening 3 office buildings, 2 residential buildings, 1 million square feet of retail. I'm glad to hear that retail sales are up. About 100 different shops, 20 different restaurants. An Equinox hotel will open this June and an Equinox club, so we're very excited.
So many aspects of this project, it's hard to know where to stop. But let's start with retail, just because of the retail numbers. As you said, 1 million square feet, did you say?
1 million square feet, so we're anchored by Neiman Marcus.
Explain how that works in the retail business right now, because the received wisdom is malls are dying, you know? And so this is a very, I guess, special kind of mall.
So we don't call this a mall.
Oh, what do we call it?
So then it's
a vertical retail, urban retail center.
It doesn't trip off the tongue, but
wait, hold on a second.
So
you can call it any other thing, but it's a mall.
No. So really, what we have here, we have 7 levels of retail in the middle of New York City. The largest floor plates of any retail building in New York City, anchored by Neiman Marcus on levels 5, 6, and 7. 100 different shops and 20 different restaurants. And like you said, retail has changed, even from when we started construction. And so what we did is redesign who would be inside this building. And so Neiman's adjusted their business plan a little bit. We changed our business plan a little bit. A lot of entertainment, a lot of restaurants to really make it a day out. So a night out, people don't need to go to the mall to go buy a shirt. They can go do that online, right? But they like to go make an event out of it, have dinner, go to the Shed, as you mentioned, and maybe buy some shirts on the way out.
But is this a destination for people who do not live in the immediate vicinity, or is it more to service the people who will be there? Because you have a lot of people living right there, just in Hudson Yards and surrounding areas.
It's going to be both. So, I mean, we think that this will really be every single person that comes to New York will come here to shop, to see all the things. It's not just the retail. So the High Line has become the #1 tourist attraction in New York City. Over 8 million people a year walk the High Line, and it happens to dead end right into our retail, right? So you spend a couple hours on the High Line, you have lunch in our retail.
So I'm just wondering how difficult it was to market all of these new units coming on at a time when there has been a period of weakness in the New York housing market, and especially given the fact that it's hard to price this region, right? I mean, it's an emerging market.
So right now at Hudson Yards, we have 2 rental buildings and 2 for-sale condominium buildings. Our 2 rental buildings have been open for a while now. We get today our highest rents in New York City on the corner of 30th Street and 10th Avenue. Right, in the midst of one of the world's largest construction sites ever. We get our lowest rents in New York City on the Upper East Side. New York City has shifted west, whether it's corporations, where people want to live, where they want to play, where they want to shop, and Hudson Yards is really at the epicenter of that.
When you put together a huge project like this, there are arrangements you make with the local government, tax concessions and things. Those are very much in the center of attention right now because of the Amazon HQ2 situation over in Long Island City. There have been some reporting saying basically taxpayers don't make out on those deals. What's your perspective?
So I think what happened to Amazon is a real disgrace for New York. I mean, it was a huge lost opportunity. If I said to you, you give me $3 billion, I'll give you $25 billion. Are you going to haggle over the $3 billion, or are you going to say, okay? I mean, this was and then after the fact, people say, oh, now we have $3 billion to spend on subways and infrastructure, except there never was $3 billion. That was all increment. So now it's gone. 25,000 jobs are gone, $25 billion of economic activity is gone. The money that could have been used for infrastructure and subway doesn't exist.
But I think that one reason why we're talking about this also is because the New York Times ran a story saying that Hudson Yards, that project got significantly bigger tax breaks than Amazon would have going to Long Island City. And I'm just wondering, from your perspective, had New York City pushed back and said, no, we're not going to give those to you, would you not have done the development?
Well, let's clarify a couple things in that article. First of all, I don't believe that subways and parks are a subsidy to any developer. That's part of government's job, is to expand the city and create economic development. So that was a huge number in the analysis that the New York Times put out. The second is, the only thing that they really did past the subways and the parks is a tax abatement that paid for those subways and parks. And that will be paid back from the increment. And to answer your question, no, I don't think that this development could have happened without the subways, without the parks, and the tax abatements to encourage companies to move west.
This resistance, I don't think, would have happened without a growing populism across the country. Is that likely to cast a bit of a shadow over future developments for you as you look forward to whether it's New York or other locations? You say, wait a second, we've got a larger political problem, as it were, than we've had in the past.
I mean, this is definitely a political problem. I think that people have to go back to the theory that it is government's job to create economic development, to encourage companies to come here. New York City is the greatest city in the world. It's the business capital of the world, but we're not going to stay that way if we don't encourage companies to come here. And in fact, worse, we tell them not to come here. So I hope that it does change.
Just moving full circle, going back to retail, I'm just curious. There's so many empty storefronts in New York City. What are all those neighborhoods doing wrong that Hudson Yards is going to do right and keep those retailers in business?
I think one of the things that we were able to do is curate from the beginning. So you go up and down Madison Avenue, you see a lot of small storefronts that are empty. Developers, owners are holding out for the last dollar, and they can only put in one store. With Hudson Yards, what we had is not just a storefront, but an opportunity to have critical mass and have restaurants. We have, as I said, about 20 different restaurants, coffee shops, high-end, more affordable restaurants. Jose Andres is doing an incredible prepared foods concept called Little Spain. So there's all these different things. We have a entertainment component called Snark Park. This great architecture company, Snarkitecture, is putting in this kind of exhibition space called Snark Park. At the entrance, it'll have Kith treats, great ice cream and cereals on top. So really exciting things to do there beyond just shopping. And I think that's really the difference between a one-off street front retail.
You know what it reminds me of? I mean this as a compliment, Rockefeller Center. The way it transformed.
It's the new Rockefeller
exactly
Center.
Right.
In fact,
it transformed a part of Manhattan.
Correct. When we thought about the plaza and our open space, we said, let's study great squares and plazas and stairs throughout the world. And you think about New York, you do think about Rockefeller Center and the skating rink and the Christmas tree. Yeah. And we said, we want to design a 365-day-a-year Christmas tree so that every single person that comes here has to come to Hudson Yards. And that's the vessel, the Thomas Heatherwick designed vessel in the center. And I think everyone that comes to New York will come see that.